Aryn 4th, 4:36. The world is about to change, molded and modified through the aggressions of others. Even if we, as Ramayans, don't wish to participate, we will be dragged into conflict, if for nothing else but to defend our lands, our homes, and people. I wonder what the world will look like when it's all said and done. Something tells me it won't be anytime soon. Tomorrow, I will leave my hometown, Lefair, and march off to Starlo. I have to do this to protect my family and the country that I love so dearly. As mentioned in previous entries, the meeting held by our mayor has set me on a different path than what I would have liked. In a perfect world, Skendar and Oshinder wouldn't be standing opposite of Baton and Sortig, as the horrid specter of war manifests in the background. I would be free to continue my path of the philosophy major and ultimately seek out a career in city administration. That dream will have to be deferred until the world returns to a state of normalcy. O great goddess, I pray that Ramay is spared from war. We had no part in the conflicts that arose from the other nations, and we have been perfectly clear about our intended neutrality. Will it be respected, or will we be forced to take up arms? I gave my younger brother, Zumez, a journal to write in. I really hope that he actually honors the sacred charge I gave him. No matter what he thinks, his story and perspective matter too. I can't wait to read what his thoughts are, and I'm intrigued to hear what he thinks when he reads these words one day. I love you, Zumez. While I cherish everyone in our family, you are really special to me. If I'm being honest, I am quite frightened that I may never return to Lefair. As hopeful as I usually am, hope means nothing in the face of rage, hatred, and violence. Aggression may very well shatter the peace that Ramay has cultivated. My only consoling factor in all this is that by volunteering, I get to be where history is unfolding, and I'll get to personally witness grand stories being written by the pen of destiny. Great Goddess, please watch over Ramay and guide me on this path. Gwenda. Aryn 5th, 4:36. We left Lefair today, and by we, I mean thousands of us. Despite the terror of the building conflict, my heart soars at seeing so many of my countrymen and countrywomen rising to oppose what may or may not come. We will reach Starlo the day after tomorrow, I think. I have never been to Starlo before, and while I wish I was going under more delightful circumstances, it is really inspiring to see our nation's capital. That's all for now. Gwenda. Aryn 7th, 4:36. We arrived at Starlo today. The city itself is a magnificent city, one that easily dwarfs Lefair. The architecture alone makes my heart swoon, and I have heard fables of some of the great cafes and theaters where intellectuals gravitate toward. However, I am not able to see any of those places because these are dire times. As soon as we arrived, we were greeted by the Ramayan military. It was a friendly and warm greeting, and there was certainly more pomp and circumstance than I had anticipated. The general of all the Ramayan forces, a man named Franck Bardot, celebrated our great courage in wanting to protect our country. We were all registered, and because I was enrolled at university, I was given a special designation. I have been assigned to be the aide-de-camp for Captain Patrice Onesha, who is the commanding officer for the 35th Infantry Division, specifically the 141st Company. We have been given tents to sleep in and store our things, but boot camp training starts tomorrow. I was told I didn't have to participate in the training if I didn't want to, but I requested it. After all, I need to be able to fight along with my peers, just in case it gets to that point. So, I will also begin the training to become a soldier. Maybe the training will help me with combating this fear. Gwenda. Aryn 18th, 4:36. It has been quite a while, but I am glad I'm able to write in you now. To be honest, I just didn't have the strength to do it before. The training is intense, and there is so much physical conditioning and mental honing. I'm starting to get more used to it, and we should be finished in a few weeks. A lot has happened in the last 11 days, and none of it has eased the twisting of my soul. Yes, I am aware that sounds dramatic, but the world is certainly a dramatic place, one that will be locked in actual war very soon. Conflicts have gotten a lot worse between our neighboring nations. Alliances chain countries together, and well, Skandar has yanked a great many of them into something that will scar the land. Skandar has declared war on Batan and Sortig, and because of that, their ally Oshender has also declared war on Batan and Sortig. To think, all of this started with a silly slight from a pair of Batanese and Sortigian nobles to the Chancellor Republic of Skandar's daughter. And now, an untold number of people are going to die. War brings death, like the sun brings warmth, and now that the gauntlet has been tossed, it's inevitable. Batan is also threatening the Ramayan borders to the west, because they desperately want to get to Skandar. Ramay lies in between them, and so thus, they want to march through our lands. Doing so would only devastate Ramayan lands, and so, our queen told them no. I wonder if Skandar also harbors intentions to march in from the east. Who will violate us first, the Batanese or the Skandarites? On an interesting note, I have met one of the soldiers from my company. He's quite handsome, funny, and he always seems to bump into me when we are running, or finds a way to get paired up with me during exercises. His name is Galen Mapri. I'll admit that I don't mind his attention, and so far, no one else has said anything about it. He has asked me multiple times to sneak over to his tent. Tonight I think I will. I could use a distraction from the world's events. It occurs to me that my brother may read this, which amuses me to no end. I wrote my family a letter and sent it off. By the goddess, I miss them. If fate is kind, I will get to see them in the future. I did include in my letter a secret message to my family, one hidden in the guise of a silly comment. It would be terrible if my letters were being intercepted. I heard from one of the higher-ups that they fear Skandar might do something to the water in the Shrivioli River, since it flows into Batan after it passes through Ramay. This may or may not be anxious conspiracy talk, or it may be something to be concerned about. Skandar might even try and secure various parts along the river, even in Ramay. As Lefair is on the Shivioli, I told them to be careful. Now, if you'll excuse me, I am going to sate my needs. Gwenda. Aryn 21st, 4:36. Training is going well, and I'm really noticing how firm my body has become. Bodies are the temples to the soul, right? Well, now my temple is in much better shape. Galan is asleep in my tent. One unforeseen and pleasing benefit to the training is that now, I can wear him out. Maybe I'll wake him back up to distract myself again. While war has been declared, nothing else has happened. No borders have been crossed, no lives have been lost, and everything is still in a state of alertness. Is it too much to hope that maybe the leaders of Skandar, Oshender, Batan, and Sortig came to their senses? Mayar 12th, 4:36. It happened today, and now the world is forever changed. Skandar has marched into Sortig from the east, and Oshender marched in from the southern border. My heart goes out for all the Sortigians, because it will get bloody before peace can be restored. Goddess help them. Goddess protect Ramay. Gwenda. Mayar 15th, 4:36. So originally, the 141st Company was supposed to be stationed along the western border with Batan, just in case. But Captain Onesha has given us new orders. We're marching to the Eastern Front instead, to a small town in northeastern Ramay called Vuxi. While the Queen of Ramay is still concerned about Baton entering into Ramayan lands, it is widely believed the larger threat is Skendar. There are reports that things are not going well for Sortig, and they lose ground every day. I can't imagine what it would be like to have to surrender your homeland to invaders. Will that be something I have to face? Probably. If I am being honest, why should my prayers for Ramay be heard when Sortigian soldiers just like me are praying for the war to end? For Sortig, it won't end. In my heart, I know it to be true. To be honest, it's only a matter of time before Skendar turns its eye on Ramay, especially if the Sortigians manage to dig in. Halting in advance could spell doom for Ramay. Is it wrong for me to hope that the Sortigians just give up? That Baton also surrender, so Skendar doesn't have a reason to regard Ramay in the same light? On a positive note, Galan and I are in a more serious courtship. In the absence of my family, he is a great reprieve from the world. Gwenda. Mayar 24th, 4:36. I sent another letter to my family today. Things have gotten worse. Sortigian and Batonese forces have finally stopped the Skendarite war machine, although half of Sortig is now under enemy control. Or how many innocent Sortigian civilians are displaced or captured in Skendarite-held cities now. The village of Vuxi is about Lafair's size, and there is a great and palpable tension that is seeping from the townspeople. While people continue about their normal days, as best they can, there is still talk. Whispers of what is going on to the far south, and whether or not Skendar would try and march through Ramay. There isn't as much strategic value in Vuxi, with the exception of it being so close to the Skendarite border. I doubt that Skendar would try and pierce this far north. My guess is that they would probably try from the south, as they control Sortigian lands directly south of us, and perhaps further south along the eastern border. I'm sure Vuxi would be sacked eventually, but the larger, more strategic city would be Darvau. Skendar is much larger than Ramay, and more densely populated too. That makes sense since the national animal of Skendar is the rabbit. According to reports that I have filed for Captain Onesha, the Skendarites have fielded at least 50,000 soldiers into Sortig. It would perhaps be foolish to think that's all of their army. However, if that isn't all of it, then what are they intending to do with the rest of it? I don't like what I think the answer is. Gwenda. Mayar 29th, 4:36. Today was a good day. Oftentimes, in tense periods of our lives, we find refuge and safety where we can. Galan asked if he could meet my parents once this is all over, and I told him yes. It's the start of something uplifting, a rose blooming in this crazy storm. I'll take it. Gwenda. Junitus 14th, 4:36. Every day is just like the last, all blending together in an unending mosaic. At dawn, we rise, and then we send out patrols to the north and south of Vuxi. Sometimes those patrols are gone for days on end. To my great dismay, Galan is always among those assigned to patrols. To be honest, I think Captain Onesha knows about my relationship with Galan, but she has not condemned me, nor has she brought it up. Still, whenever Galan returns from patrol, she lets me off early and usually with a wink or smile. In these war times, I am glad to have some luxuries. One such luxury is an understanding and generous commanding officer. As I am always in town with my captain, I often help oversee the provisions for our company, as well as being the contact person for Vuxi's mayor. The mayor of Vuxi is a man named Paulo Jaffer, and he is quite kind. He reminds me a lot of Mayor DeFranco, the mayor of Lafair. How I miss home so much. It aches often, but I know what I'm doing is right. At night, we make sure the 15-mile radius around the city is secured. So far, it's quiet. In occupied Sortig, however, it is not quiet. Half of the country has been conquered and garrisoned by the Skendarites. Skendar doesn't intend on giving the land back, and is rumored to be renaming cities and building more permanent defenses. May the goddess have mercy on the Sortigians. Gwenda. Julitus 8th, 436. Damn the specter of war. I knew it would find us eventually. I never wanted to speak it out loud, but now it's inevitable. It's only a matter of time. I sent another letter back home, this time through a secret messenger. I managed to befriend a family in Vuxi, and they are sending their youngest daughter as the courier. No one would suspect a little girl of carrying a letter, such as the one I have sent. Remay is safe. For now. We are being redeployed to the city of Darvuth, and it will take about 5 days to get there. Skendar has finally turned its attention toward my country, as things have become a stalemate in Sorteg. The combined forces of Batanese and Sortigian military have prevented any further progress, and now, Skendar is forced with seeking new routes to their enemy. The Republic of Skendar has sent a notice to the Queen of Remay. Either she allows the Skendarite armies to pass through to get to Bataan and Sorteg, or we may consider ourselves at war. The Queen was given 10 days to comply with a response, and so we march. Goddess help us. Julitus 15th, 436. The city of Darvuth is prepared for the worst of it. We arrived yesterday, and already we are preparing solid, more permanent defenses. From our actions, I can tell what the Queen of Remay has decided. Based on what is happening with Sorteg, I'm certain that we will be confronted with Skendarite forces. Will this city be my grave? Is this where my story comes to an end? I'm so scared about what's to come. The training I had helps a little, to at least comfort me in knowing what I have to do to survive. However, there is no guarantee that I will. Surely the Sortigian military had training, and yet there were deaths. Will I survive? It doesn't matter now. This is the path I have chosen, and while I am racked with fear, I know this is for the best. Someone has to stand against the aggression. I will never stop fighting. Captain Onesha says that there will be 2 fronts when war finally comes to Remay. As Skendar has already taken all of Sorteg that is south of us, that will be one of the fronts. Already, Remayan forces are garrisoned at Metin. However, only 40% of our military is in the south. The rest of it is along the eastern border, with many companies here in Darvuth. Things are tense. I have sent another letter to my family, this time with another non-military courier. Things may get very bad, and if we do get invaded, I hope my family flees to Starlow. The more I think about it, the more I believe we will have to defend our homeland from Skendarite aggressions. And then, there is one other thing that presses on my mind. Maybe it's just due to stress, but my monthly bleeding is late. Gwenda. Julitus 28th, 436. These days are quite bitter, with few opportunities to find reprieves. Yes, I have Galon in the same city, but our schedules rarely sync up for us to meet. When they do, we have an hour or so at best. Oftentimes, we simply hold one another. That is enough for me. I have fallen in love with him, and him with me. If we get through this, I will marry him, especially because of what may be growing inside me. I still haven't bled, and it could still be due to the stress of war. I've thrown up frequently as of late, even when I have eaten very little. I can't focus on that now. I have to be vigilant if I am to remain alive. Gwenda. Augustine 5th, 436. We got reports in today. Apparently, 10 battalions have marched up from the south, and the Skenderites are actively trying to take the city of Matin. Soon, it will be our turn. Will we be strong enough to keep the Skenderites back? I resisted the urge to tell Galan that I am in fact pregnant. Aside from a doctor friend I've made here, I'm not telling anyone, not even Captain Amisha. Eventually, it will be noticeable, but I can't abandon my company, not when the shadow of Skendar looms ever closer. The 141st is my family, my brothers and sisters, and I will not flee to safety while they clash against death itself. Not yet, anyway. I can't be selfish. Gwenda. August 7th, 4:36. Life can be so cruel. We did not ask to be pulled into this meaningless conflict, and yet, we have no choice. We are victims in this, and we must endure. I can't go home now. Not after what just happened. War is savage. War is terrible. War is death. Galan was killed yesterday. He was in a platoon that was scouting the border between Skendar and Ramay, and they were swallowed up by a marching battalion. Only 2 members of the platoon managed to return to us to tell us of the fate of the others, and they too died of their wounds shortly after. As soon as I heard, I collapsed and wept. Captain Amisha took me aside, and she told me to flee before it was too late. She admitted that she knew I was pregnant, and that I should flee before it got worse. I did. I fled. Or at least I tried to. I rode a horse out of Darvout, but a mile from the city, I was forced to return. 3 or 4 Skendarite battalions had entered Ramay south of Darvout, and they were marching toward the city, marching from the direction I was trying to escape to. I was spotted, and thank the goddess I got back to Darvout in time to get away from the Skendarite scouts. I have no idea what would have happened to me had I been captured. However, now we are trapped in Darvout. I got back to the city before the gates were closed, and I told Captain Amisha what I saw. Last night, our situation worsened. From what I can tell, at least 10 battalions, maybe more, have arrived from the south, and another 5 stormed us from the east. We can already tell more are on the way, and our armies are dug in frailly securely. Things aren't looking great for us. I wish I could hug my family one last time. There is no escape for any of us. Gwenda. August 11th, 4:36. This will be my last entry. I pray to the goddess that this journal somehow finds its way back to Lafair, back to my family. My family is the Amishas, and they operate a bakery in the city. One of the best bakeries, in fact. What I would not give to taste my father's bread one last time, or hug my little sister Peta. I do not entertain any hope that I will survive what is going to happen. The Skendarite forces are preparing to launch all of their forces at us. We have been given the order to surrender, and the commander of the city has refused to do so. He has condemned us all to death. Captain Amisha bugged me to disguise myself as a citizen, in hopes to escape the grim fate of the warrior. I thought about it, but I can't do that. I am a proud Ramayan, and I will die on my feet as a proud Ramayan. I know it sounds crazy, but I won't let my story be penned by the wrath and brutality of the Skendarites. I have heard reports of how some of the Sortigian prisoners of war and citizens in occupied cities are treated. War makes people do terrible things, and the conflicts have been bloody already. Citizens who have tried to flee the city yesterday were cut down. No quarter was given. Perhaps the Skendarites wish to avoid anyone giving intelligence or information to our military elsewhere. Or maybe they are just savage. I have also heard what some of the Skendarite soldiers are like. No, I will end my story by my own desire, and in so doing, I can not only live and die as a proud Remayan, but perhaps Galon and I can be reunited and start a family together in the next life. I regret not allowing my beautiful child to be born into this world. But what kind of world will that be? One where our country is ripped from its identity and digested by the Skandarites? If it was a boy, I would have named him Zumez. And if it was a girl, Peta. Some things are just not meant to be, I suppose. The Skandarite war horns are blowing now. The twilight of my life is here at last. I lived my life on my terms, and I never stopped fighting for what I cherished. Somehow, we will make it through this, we as a nation. At least, I hope we will. And if by some miracle I do survive this, then I will raise my child to be a proud Remayan. Long live Remay. Sincerely yours, forever and beyond. Gwenda, Amisha.